Damn these Biloxi blues, it happens every night. And I ain't never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine.
I have not.
The summer heat never treats me kind, it leaves trouble on my mind. So I'm bidding farewell, putting in my notice, and I'll see you at another time. This highway does not know my name, and I don't care.
No, I don't care.
Heading my way for another place, and I got 3 good tires and a spare.
Right to the hook right here.
Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there.
Low budget live, not so live. And how you doing, you bunch of daggum low-lifers? And if you are new to this program that we call Low Budget Live, Not So Live, sometimes Low Budget Live, sometimes. Haven't done a LBL in a while, but you're now a low-lifer, whether you like it or not. So welcome if you're new, and welcome back, all of you loyal low-lifers. LBL, in my opinion, the first low-budget, all original idea podcast, right? Low budget, often imitated, more now, more than ever. Even some of my biggest critics are now, they do low budget live-esque shows. It's interesting. It's an interesting time out there in fishing podcasts. But I appreciate each and every one of you showing up here every single week. And this is the podcast for Monday, November 30th. And that is the last day of November in this crazy year of 2020, and we're almost there. And hopefully when we click over on December 31st, we get rid of some of this bad luck. I feel like, we're hearing this vaccine talk. There's lots of things to be looking forward to. Just wrapped up Thanksgiving, of course. And we talked about that last time. Were you guys going to go full board? I want it in the comments again. How did it go? Did you go full board? Did you go out and about with your family at all? Did you stay home? I really appreciated the feedback last week. It was awesome to hear. And from what I saw on social media, a lot of people really cut back this year. They really scaled down their family gatherings. And when they did have a bigger family gathering, I saw a lot of masks on social media. It was crazy. We're living in different times for sure. So let me know, how did it go? How did your Thanksgiving go last week? A lot of feedback on that, and I always appreciate that because, like I said, media gives you whatever. I like knowing what the people think. And y'all definitely did that. So let me know, how'd it go? Did you enjoy your socially distanced turkey and dressing and pumpkin pie? If you enjoyed pumpkin pie, we probably can't be friends. That ain't nothing but a gourd. I'm not eating. Big Thanksgiving weekend around here. And if you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz, Hudson Duncan, my 13-year-old co-host, sometimes he's not here tonight, but he has hunted his little tail off this year, and he finally shot a buck. This is only his second buck ever. He killed a little spike buck years ago for his first deer, probably 3 years ago, I guess. And he has hunted with me a bunch. Of course, I shot a really nice one earlier this year, so I've been hunting with him a ton every time he wants to go. And we've been after, we've got 2 on our farm that we hunt that are really, really good deer. Really good deer. For me, shooters that, and I'm pretty serious about what I take. And man, we've had opportunities. This past Monday, he actually shot a really good deer that we hadn't seen on camera. Mature 8 comes out, and I thought he made a great shot. We trailed the deer for a couple 100 yards, lost blood. Anyways, you hunters out there know how this goes. But we lost the deer. Couldn't find the deer. We looked for 2 days. Haven't found it. And that just happens. And I told him, he was heartbroken. And I'm like, look, this is not the last time it's just part of the sport. It's the worst part of the sport. But had that happen earlier this year on the youth hunt, last weekend in October, Big 8 walks out, gun goes click, bad bullet. 2 nights ago, actually, let's see. Yeah, on the actual, I guess it was Thanksgiving evening. No, it was Friday, excuse me. Black Friday, he and I, we had dogs run through. We had a buck in the field he was going to shoot. Dogs come running through. These house dogs, crazy. Run the deer off. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't even know what to say. Right before dark, a really nice deer comes out. Cannot see it in the scope. It's so late. Still legal shooting time, but it was cloudy. Anyways, can't get a shot. Saturday morning, we go back. One of the biggest deer on our farm crosses in front of us after a doe, really quick, can't get a shot. He's bummed. We see another 8-point. That's a nice deer. Can't get a shot at it. And at like 9:30, he ends up getting a shot at a really nice 8 that we had seen on camera. And he dropped it in his tracks. So congrats to HLD. Man, he's been checking the wind and the weather. He's been so into it, and it's just so cool. He's that way with fishing too, and it's just so cool to share that. Like that, I never would have imagined even how proud, that you can feel. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like that pride in your children. And not that they like. I mean, I'm the same way. If he doesn't like what I like, right? What I grew up doing, but it's just special. It's just that bond is just so special. And Thanksgiving for me growing up was always about being in the woods with my dad, my uncles, and it's special. It's special. So I'm so glad that and we got to take Ryder, my 9-year-old. We went the day before Thanksgiving. That's kind of our deal. We all pile up in a stand. Posted about that too. But Hudson got him one. So y'all that commented on that, I appreciate it. I'd had some Mom's Basement dadgum vegetarians, and you know what? If that's what you want to do, then eat all the turnip greens you want. But here's the thing. Don't search the hunting hashtag and come and rain on my 13-year-old's parade. That's what I got to say. Not everybody likes hunting. That's fine. I get it. I was born it's all I've ever done. It's all I know. If I live somewhere else, maybe not. I don't know. But it was pretty simple how I laid it out to this person that was commenting is, hey, man, you're welcome, because that deer was headed to eat some vegetables and, just competing with you vegans out there. So I took care of the problem. So there you go. There you go. You know what takes care of problems, guys? StarTron. Got that in there. StarTron kicking ethanol in the teeth and supporting LBL for over 3 years now. The fine folks at StarTron, Starbright. Very excited in a couple weeks. Me and Shannon Wheeler, Dude Let's Fish. We're going to head down and play some music for the fine folks at StarTron at their plant where they actually manufacture that. So can't wait. Want to thank those guys. I actually had to use my chainsaw today because winter is coming. Had to get some firewood, and this went in the chainsaw. It'll go on your weed eater, your side-by-side, but mainly you got to protect that old outboard engine, because if it sits too much this winter, that ethanol can be a major, major problem. Little dab will do you right there. Nothing ruins a great day on the water like an outboard engine that won't run due to ethanol, so kick it in the teeth with some StarTron. Also got to say a big thanks to Bozeman, Montana's own Sims Fishing Products for making the finest fishing clothing out there and helping out some LBL, helping out. And I am here to remind all of you low-lifers, you get one life. Fish it well. And last but never least, Express Boats, the official bass boat of Low Budget Live and the Traveling Circus. And every day, every week that we click off right here, We're just 1 week closer, baby. 1 week closer to standing on that 21 Pro, that X21. I can't wait. Cannot wait. So we thank those fine sponsors of Low Budget Live and the Traveling Circus. Man, I am so excited about our guest today, and we are going to get to that very soon. Very soon. This is somebody that I have admired for a while now, have a gigantic pile of respect for, and I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. But first, this is it. All you Opens pros out there vying for these Elite Series spots and one more shot at the Classic. Here you go. This is it. Lay Lake. Man, all the what ifs, all the scenarios, it all comes down to this week. Does Jason Christie pull off the Falcon Rods Angler of the Year? Does Justin Atkins get in? He's in 5th place. Does Matt Robertson make it? Brian New, Scott Martin, Scotty Too Hottie. Who gets in? Who's out? It's going to be interesting. They have got I live about 3 hours north of Lake where this is going down outside of Birmingham, and man, do we have a cold front. Whew. But you kind of expect that, right? Of course, it's a bass tournament. There's going to be some crappy weather. They're getting dealt a hand. This is the first winter weather really that we've had, and had cold rain today down there. We're going to see what happens. It's going to be interesting, but y'all need to keep up with that this week. We also have the Toyota Series Championship going on, $200,000 up there on Lake Cumberland, which is one of my favorite lakes in the entire freaking universe. Love that place. Be a lot of smallmouth bass caught. Will Panoptics win both of those tournaments? The answer is probably yes. Live scope, especially Cumberland. I think there's a chance. But all those guys just fishing for money in the Toyota Championship because obviously no RIP Forest Wood Cup, FLW Cup, no more Cup bursts. Remember last year we did away with that. We being MLFLW. Left some guys high and dry on that, but just money, big money, no entry fee championship. I think there's 200 boats in that bad boy. It's going to be interesting to see what they do up there at Great Old Lake Cumberland for dang sure. I think that it's going to be crazy to see how all this shakes out for real with these Opens, man. I'm telling you, this field's going to get a lot stronger, but I'm just anxious to see who gets in, who gets out. What are bass, they're going to offer any exemptions? Do they need to? Do they have to? It's I can't wait for all the dust to settle. Then we can really get to talking about what's going on. But a lot of scenarios could play out. A lot of scenarios. So we'll see. It's always fun to see who gets in and gets out. But who gets in? Nobody's getting out of the elites this year. Everybody gets to come back, but it's always interesting to see who's coming in this new class, and we already know a few, obviously, but we're gonna learn, and I think that's definitely something worth watching. I wanted to address something from last week while we're just chatting amongst ourselves here, ladies and gentlemen. I saw not many comments on this, but when I was going on my, those guys leaving BPT deal, I wanted to say, I mean, zero disrespect to most of the guys that are fishing BPT that are still there. I saw some comments like, give me Kevin Van Dam, not Defoe, and Jacob Wheeler and Jordan Lee against anybody. You suck. Hashtag I don't like low budget live or whatever. Saw some comments like that. And the point, which I felt like I was trying to make, is 5 of those names that have left are 5 of the biggest names in the history of the sport. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yes, there are some of the biggest names. Kevin Van Dam, obviously Jordan Lee, Jacob, I get all that. I know that. And I saw nobody's talking about the 75 that are staying. And that's kind of typical what's been going on with all this. Of course it's news. It's news. They're leaving. Iaconelli's an owner. Of course it's news. It's huge news. So I wanted to say that. Feel like I shouldn't have to say that it goes without saying. But I mean no disrespect to these legendary anglers that are fit, that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm just saying from a business standpoint, things don't look too good right now, in my opinion. You got some of the biggest anglers and you got an owner leaving. The grass it ain't that green. It ain't that green. And, I heard from a couple of FLW guys that will remain nameless that thanked me for some of the things I had to say about how they were going about choosing who the new BPT anglers are. And you can imagine if you're putting everything you got into that basket, that's frustrating to see. So, yeah. I wanted to say that. I typed that in my phone, so I started getting those comments. I'm like, and like I said, not many. But there's a lot of folks over there that I care about, and there's a lot of folks over there that I freaking respect. They're great anglers, man. They're great anglers. I don't care what they're fishing carp tournaments. They're great anglers. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying the news story was, it was the guys leaving. So something. This is a tricky one that I'm fixing to talk about here. But I feel like I want to throw it out there and let y'all comment below, send me DMs what you think about it. So in the beginning, and I want to say, I told you a lot of sponsor deals are changing, and they are. And there's a lot of big announcements coming from a lot of guys. What I'm seeing right now from the Bass Pro Tour, and mainly like Boyd Duckett, is, in my opinion, like a really ballsy business strategy. And I will say that, if lack of anything else, my man has some gonads, some kahunas, to try things, right? And just keep barreling through whether they're working or not. But in the beginning, it's the Bass Pro Tour. Bass Pro Shops was one of the major sponsors. Johnny Morris threw out the inaugural first cast. Remember all that? Johnny, obviously the owner of the White River Marine Group, Tracker boats, Ranger boats, Triton boats, Nitro boats. They were a big sponsor. And originally that contract, which is null and void now because we've broken it and all that, but the original contract stated you could not run a boat brand, right, unless it was a brand ran by somebody in that initial 80, if that makes sense. So there were no Vexuses in that group. There were no Caymases in that group because they weren't up and going then. So it kind of, in my opinion, was designed to kind of keep them out of Bass Pro Tour. Some would gather. That's kind of what I thought. Okay. Kept out Express. Nobody had an Express. Kept out Express. But Falcons and Bullets, there were a lot of things in. Well, once that contract went out the window, they ripped it up because they, didn't follow through with a lot of things. And the contract was really null and void after 2 years. Now things are opening back up and, huge shakeups. Of course, Vexus was started by some guys from Ranger, and Camus was obviously started by Earl Bentz, and they were all under that White River Marine umbrella, and then they left, started their own thing. One would assume probably not, everything's probably not peachy between those guys and Bass Pro Shops. This is Luke's opinion, nobody else's. But one would assume, what I'm saying? Writing on the wall, business is business, competition's cutthroat. So Boyd Duckett is now selling Camus boats at his boat dealership, Earl Bentz's new boat brand. He is now going to be running a Camus boat. I don't know if he's announced that, if he has or whatever. I don't know. But he's going to run one. And then today I was noticing that Major League Fishing posts Jared Littner's one of these big sponsor chains. He's been with Skeeter, and then he was with Ranger. And he left Ranger and is now running a Vexus. Major League Fishing makes this big post about how he gets his Vexus boat ready for the season. And for me, this ballsy move that I'm talking about is, how is this going? And this is another one of those kind of cracks in the dam for me. Ranger had always sponsored FLW, and then they, MLF wanted a lot more money, and so Ranger was out. Okay. I know Bass Pro cut their money a little bit with the COVID stuff. They've made a lot of cuts overall, obviously with boat deals and different things, and with tournament trails. But for me, this industry's so tiny, especially on that boating side, that it is so unbelievably ballsy to me to basically throw these competitors' boats in Johnny Morris Bass Pro Shops, White River Marine's face. I feel like you're playing with fire because there's a lot of egos in that business, man. And look, I'll say this. I like that transparency that you let Jared Littner promote Vexus boats, even though Vexus is not an MLF sponsor. I like that Boyd is, he'd been with Triton forever, and now he's in a Camus. Whatever. They're great people making great boats. My thing is this. I just think it's bad for business. And if the tournament trail is called the Bass Pro Tour, one would assume Bass Pro Shops would probably want all of their boat brands at the forefront. Now, I don't think they're paying the dollar to get that now. Lots of big change. So, I don't know. That's one to watch, in my opinion, because in those circles of in that boating world, man, that's touchy stuff, man. You're talking about market share. You're talking about, money. So I saw that today and I was like, yeah, I got to talk about that. I think that's just kind of slapping Bass Pro Shops like this. Look at this. Look at this. Look what we can do. We're going to do this since you didn't give us enough money. Ooh. Ballsy. We'll see how that... It's an interesting strategy, Cotton. Isn't that from the movie Dodgeball? We'll see how it plays out for him. I don't know. Maybe the smartest thing in the world. I would think that Boyd would not be running a Camus boat if they were not going to come on as an MLFLW, BPT, RIP, FLW Big Five sponsor. I would think that that's probably going to be the case at some point. They're building a lot of boats and really growing. Building a great boat. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out because those kind of situations just never work out the way you think they're going to work out, I think. So, I don't know. We'll see. But there's so many shakeups in the angler sponsor world that you're fixing to start hearing about. I'm sure after contracts are over with a lot of their current sponsors in December, come January, you're going to start seeing lots of announcements and you're going to be like, I'm telling you, there's a lot that has gone down in that world. But keep an eye on that one. I'm going to send our guest a text. Y'all know how this goes. All right. So I gotta preface this conversation by saying, y'all have heard me joke about this for a couple years now. The thirst traps in bass fishing. The thirst traps. The ladies that look, I caught this bass, and they got their thongs and they got the boobs hanging out and all that stuff. Listen, full disclosure. Love boobs. I'm here for it. Thongs. I'm here for it. I just think it's a bad representation of what it takes to be a professional angler or just a serious angler in general. And I'm all about, hey man, you want to show off what God gave you? Go for it. Let me restart the camera real fast. Hang on, y'all. But that being said, these pages get hundreds of thousands of followers and likes, and these people get sponsors, and it's just like, are you really catching the fish? Did somebody hand it to? And it's big in the saltwater world. And I know some ladies that are really like they'll kick your ass in a boat. Like they catch them. And my guest today is one of those. She is absolutely, she's one of the hardest working anglers in the country. And she does 99.9999% of it from a kayak. She just recently wrapped up a third place at the Hobie Tournament of Champions, which is like the best of the best of the best of the best in that kayak world. And I'm telling you, man, I would not put anything past this woman right here. She is at Midwest Fisher Girl on the Instagram, which is kind of where I got to keep up and follow her. But ladies and gentlemen, Miss Christine Fisher.
Luke Duncan, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself, sir?
I'm doing great. And I just went on a little mini rant right before I called you about some topics that you know me, I'm always going to go on some sort of rant. You know, it's kind of my thing.
So you're already fired up and the conversation hasn't even started yet.
I'm kind of fired up. Yeah. I was talking about, of course, sponsor stuff. And then I got into and then I wanted to preface this conversation by saying, about like talking about the thirst traps and it's something I've joked about on this program a lot over the years, or the thirst traps. And I even call myself one at times, you know, I'm thirst trapping. I'm out here dad bodding it up, thirst trapping, but it doesn't get me the likes that I need it to get me, you know. But I started your intro by saying, and I want to say it to you, that you are without a doubt one of the hardest working anglers I've ever seen. Since I mean, and I've followed this sport and obviously been a part of this industry and this sport for a very long time. And a good friend of mine, Brian the Carpenter, asked
Brian.
at BTC, he had actually, because I apologize, like I don't keep up with the kayak world as much as I should, and I do now because of you. And that's no disrespect to kayak anglers of any kind. I just don't, that's just not my world. I want it to be now. Like I'm super intrigued by all of it. But Brian said, hey, you got to check Christine out, man. It's like, he's like, this is like, she is incredible. And so I started following, and I've been blown away by the adventures you go on and how passionate you are. So I want to say that, thank you. I say all that to say thank you for coming on and giving me some time, because you're just always on the go.
That is life, yeah, and I really appreciate that, Luke. That's honestly probably the very best compliment that I could receive. So thank you, I appreciate that.
Well, you're very welcome, and it's well deserved, because we're going to get into all this, but there's something on your, because I want to know. I've got it, and I do know a little bit from some very serious female angler friends of mine that how they look at that stuff, and I want to just break it down for people, because I want to get there. But there's something on your Instagram, and I honestly I'd never noticed this until I was doing my my little bit of research that I do. And you have you are redefining the female angler stereotype. I want to start right there. You are redefining, that is in quotes in your bio on Instagram. Okay, so at Midwest Fisher Girl, as you are so known on Instagram, what is the female angler stereotype to you?
That is a big question.
It is.
A multi-big question. And, you know, I hope from when I first put that up there, I'm still in the Instagram game. I was very new to Instagram. I was kind of a late up and comer with that. When I first got on there, that was in my bio, and I've never taken it down.
Yeah. Well, I love it. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's obviously one of the driving factors that I've used to kind of push myself in my career and in this industry. And I think what the female angler stereotype, well, I'll just preface this by saying, when I first got onto I fished my entire life, but I was very new to social media when it was, I was late to social media. And when I started, kind of getting up and with the times, the face of female fishing and all the advertisements and all over social media was this was a bikini gal down in Florida.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that and seeing in the even the ones when she, you know, was modestly, you know, or I shouldn't even say modestly, I should functionally dressed. Her mechanics and the way they marketed her made women look completely incompetent in every single aspect. And I remember just being furious and outraged. And I was like, so this is when women come into the sport, this is what they see is how we are marketed. And at that point, I didn't really, you know, gender wasn't a big, I didn't look at myself as a female angler. That was
just an angler
for me. I was an angler.
Just an angler. Absolutely.
But I was livid at how, and then the more time I spent on social media and at these, and I started going to these shows and started meeting these self-proclaimed badass female anglers, and actually I got to fish with them. I was like, wow. We've got to do some things here. No wonder I'm not taken seriously anywhere I go by anybody that doesn't know me. You know, like we've got a lot of work to do in this industry. So that's kind of where that started.
Well, and I can tell you that just following along with your career, what you do, what you're about, you are. If anybody follows you and gets the idea that that's what your game is and that you're about that, they need to just shut down their social media, period, because that is not your deal in the least. And it is, I don't know. I saw one today and I almost texted you this. I screenshot it and I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to be that guy. But there was one that I saw today, booty shorts. You know, and it was like this inspirational thing with a rod and reel. And I was like, yeah, but I don't think that's not why you posted it. You're not trying to get more people into fishing. You're trying to get them clicks, trying to get them likes. Exactly. Yeah, you do. I'm sure. Yeah, I think we've talked about this person privately. Yes, we have. Yep. And it's frustrating for me. And I think, and I don't want to say, I don't want this to sound the wrong way in that you don't get enough credit or anything like that, because I feel like you very much like you got your sponsors, you bust your ass for your sponsors, you work so hard at your talent, you work so hard at social media. My God, the filming, you're always running cameras on everything, which people that the work that goes into that alone while you're trying to compete, while you're trying to stay ahead of amazing anglers you're competing against, all of that is a lot of freaking work. A lot of work. And so to not just go, yeah, you know what? I'm going to hire a photographer. I'm going to get some smallmouth and put this bikini on, and I'm going to get these likes up on this page, because that's the easy way out, I feel like, right?
100%.
I mean, it is. And look, I don't want this to come across. I said this before you came on. Bikinis are great. That's fine. I absolutely, if you got it, rock it, whatever. I'm not saying that. And if you're a woman listening to this and you love bass fishing or musky fishing or saltwater fishing and you like to do it in the skimpiest bikini ever, you know what? You do you. I'm not here to knock it, but I'm saying when people monetize it, it becomes a little dirty for me in that sense. And it becomes a little, it's like, how can, because you know, like I know how many of your fellow kayak anglers out there bust their ass like you do and get no love. It's the same in the Bass Pro world. How many? There are hundreds, right? Yeah. That are trying to feed their families, that have this dream, and then you get an Instagram page that gets 200,000 likes because it holds up.
Because of the way they look.
Of course.
It's the perpetration bizarre. For self-gain that really, it's abusing our resources for self-gain.
Yes.
And I see that more. I saw a clip today from a gal, and this super famous YouTuber. I don't know anything about real famous YouTubers, but I was sent this clip, and this gal, the guy is self-filming himself, and the gal is in the background spraying down this other girl with oil. And they caught a 4-pound bass.
Well, I mean,
and the bass is hanging there for 8 minutes out of the water.
Oh my gosh!
And it's just, you know, it's tough for a lot of us, and it takes away from not only people that are working hard, but like you said, I feel for the guys out there that are cashing checks and busting their butts on the professional scene and working hard, and they can't get a sponsorship because we've got to appease
you
these
can't even
new
get
standards now.
Can't even get a call back a lot of times
Yeah.
from a sponsor, But that being said, it's about what's moving product to a lot of companies, unfortunately. But I love that. I feel like you've got some great partners. I see you posting about them a lot, and you do them a great job. But I think for me, I've got a daughter, and you and I have had some conversations about this. It is absolutely 1,000% for me. It's amazing to see what you're doing, and it's because I would never want her to be out there thirst trapping, so to speak. And she loves to be in the outdoors. She loves to fish. And I feel like because those folks are out there, that if my daughter showed up at an outdoor show, 9 out of 10 booths she walked by would think that that's the kind of fisherman she is, right? That she just goes because a guy likes it, or because she thinks she looks cute holding a bass or whatever. And that's sad but true, because I know like Captain Mo Newman. Do you know Mo?
Yep, I know Mo. She's on the AFCO team.
Absolutely. Yep. Just like Mo is like the real deal. And I'm not going to start naming people because it's just like there's too many. Melinda Hayes is one in our industry. Tournament fish, just made the All-American winning co-angler. But like there are so many women that love it. There's several women that listen to LBL every week that comment that I see them posting pictures. They're out just killing it and love it. And I told you a long time ago, man, I wanted to get you on here to talk about some of this because it is, I don't know. And look, guys are the problem, right? We're the problem. I'm part of the problem because, like I said before you came up, I like a bikini. Come on. It pops up there. I may give it a double click. Come on. I may give it a heart.
Absolutely.
What am I going to do? I'm only human. But I'm just saying, there are so many people out there working really hard that the thirst traps, they just drive me crazy. Gerald Swindle and I have talked about this, and he actually made a video. He said, how them girls check them trail cameras with them shorts up the rear? He said, how they not chafe? He said, how they not have chiggers? He said that. He goes, they bend over in front of them trail cameras. It don't even make sense. It don't even makes no sense. So, me. Well, I think that I think everybody listening there, I hope that y'all know, if you're not following Christine, make sure you are at Midwest Fisher Girl on Instagram. And what's your YouTube channel? Is the same, right?
I think it's just Christine Fisher.
It's just Christine
pretty,
Fisher.
Pretty
Okay.
new to YouTube, but
I got you.
I think it's just Christine Fisher on that.
Well, if you guys like bass fishing at all, musky fishing, which we're going there. I got to go there because I got to hear about this. But she has. So your biggest win to date, your career defining moment was on Kentucky Lake, correct?
That was probably my biggest win. Yeah, I had, most, that was the first big national win. And it had to be my biggest, I think.
And that's 2019 when that happens?
Yes. Yep.
And talk about how big that field was. I mean, these fields in these kayak tournaments, that was something I wrote in my notes, that blow my mind for the most part, how many freaking boats you guys have in these events. What do you do to separate yourself in that kind of event? Because I know if it's 300 bass boats, obviously you guys are limited to where you can go a little bit, but hell, a little bit, but I'll keep up with you and see that like nothing's out of play basically.
Right.
For any of
water.
you. Yeah, any of you guys, you're out in open water, you're up the creeks, you're up a river, you're all over the place. Grass fishing, ledge fishing, doesn't matter. You guys are really versatile. But how, like in that tournament, for example, how did you separate yourself from the crowd on a tough Kentucky lake?
So our tournaments on the national level, we draw an average of probably 125. The BASS ones have been drawn like 130 to 160. We had 169 on Chickamauga a couple weeks ago. So they have the fields and they're stacked, and we've got some incredible sticks. Several guys that used to fish the Bass Opens and fish FLW. We've got a lot of those guys competing. So it's definitely, there's a lot of competition out there. And I think you touched on this earlier. Is just, you've got to work your tail off. you got to put in a ridiculous amount of prep work. And I always try to do that. You know, if there's a big tournament coming up, I'm on maps. If I'm not already at the lake, I like to give myself a good few solid 3 or 4 days of practice. But before that, I'm scouring the internet. I'm mostly looking at Google Earth and Navionics, and just trying to break down areas and selecting areas that I'm going to spend time on, run ramps and just check and look. And, you know, it's a lot of work that goes into this stuff, because, you know, I can't get in the boat and run and check spots. So I've got to be very selective and very meticulous about selecting the areas that I want to break down and practice.
Now, do you ever, what do you do you even after a practice? Because like you said, you can't run. So for me, I make a 60-mile run in a bass boat, and it turns out no bueno. I can pull up the trolling motor and go 60 miles the other way. Now I spent a lot of time doing that, but I don't burn a whole day. So you're looking at Google Earth. Say you're going to go. I saw a post from the Susquehanna tournament you fished. You said you drifted like 15 miles in one day, and you're like,
that's not ideal, Luke. You don't want to. You're hoping like that is not that's like your plan D, and that was I had to resort to plan D.
Well, I read this though, and then I was wrapping my head around this. I'm going, holy crap! You're like, I'm 30th out of whatever. It was a bad day. I went 15 miles in my kayak. I'm like, damn, okay, all right, I hear you. But my question is, I guess, when you pick out that area on Google Earth after practice, if it doesn't work, are you loading it back up in the truck? Do you have to try to grind it out in there? What's the move then?
Well, we're allowed in all 3 of the national trails. We are allowed to load up and relaunch.
Okay.
I try really hard not to do that though. There have been a few tournaments. If I when I'm looking at areas, I try really hard. And I usually do a pretty good job of this. Sometimes I don't do a good job of it. But when I'm looking at an area for a tournament, it's very important to me that I have a plan A, B, and C within an area. And if I find fish shallow, like in the back of the creek, if the water temps drop, and I've got to find that area's got to have a secondary area that those fish are going to pull off to. I've got to be able to understand the area and have, transition points and areas that I know if I can't catch them here, there's a riprap wall or a seawall around the corner that I can at least scratch the limit out. There's docks I can flip. I like to have a lot of diversity within an area.
Okay.
So I've got a lot of backup plans. Well, now, sometimes I don't have that though. Sometimes, I was on a pattern way up on Logan Martin where I had a lot of good fish in the mouths of the feeder creeks up the river. And I had 3 of them within a 2-mile stretch, and then about 9 miles down I had a series of 5 or 6 others that I could hit. So that's a situation where I'd go, and if I was on that pattern and they were on it, I'd run, hit the mouths of those, load up, drive down, relaunch, hit the mouths of the other ones.
Wow. What's the longest distance that you'll paddle in one day though, or that you'll pedal, you'll paddle? I mean, is it like that distance? If it's over a couple miles, you're like, hey, I'm out. I'm gonna load up. What's your range that you feel comfortable in being able to fish and be efficient in a day?
Well, it depends. If I'm fishing a river system, if I'm fishing up on La Crosse, I've floated the entirety of full 7 in a day during a tournament. That was again, you can't fish super efficiently when you're doing that. The float trips are a little different, especially if you've got real fast moving water. Like I just fished the French Broad, and floating a 9-mile. That you could do that in a dang near an hour and a half with the way it's moving for that TOC. But if I'm fishing a bit, like Kentucky Lake or something like that, I would say I've gone about 9.5, 10 miles in one day, running ledges.
Wow.
That's about my max. That's about what I want to do. It's about 9.5, 10 miles. And I like to keep it under 5 if I can.
Jeez. Christine, I don't know if you know this about me, but you're describing everything about kayak fishing that would make me terrible at it. And it's I'm real ADD, and I like to fish everything all in one day. Way too fast most of the time, as my tournament record has shown many times. And I'm really out of shape. So I'm telling you, when you said 8 to 10, I'm like, I think that probably could. I'll be your camera guy. I'll follow you in a boat. I'll film you, whatever I need to do. But I don't know. Man, that is incredible to me that that's the case. So I'm going to ask you, I see you make some posts about this, and this kind of in the same vein. Do you think, and I love this because you're talking about you pick an area and you break it down. Because I am a firm believer, as much ADD in my fishing as I do have, I am a firm believer that there are fish in a lot of places. And there are a lot more fish. I started realizing after I got power poles for the first time, how many fish we used to fish past, right? With the wind blowing or whatever. So when you start slowing down, it's like, oh my gosh, there were 5 on this one laydown, where 20 years ago I would have caught 1 and went on. So do you think, and in your experience, I mean, I shouldn't even say think, that boaters a lot of times miss opportunities in areas because they have the capability of running around too fast? Are you picking off fish behind people that maybe blow through an area and roll on?
Yes, that's a very good question. I have kind of a 2-part answer.
Okay.
So yes, I've so many times, especially during tournaments, I have absolutely no issues because we fish a lot of the same lakes and there's almost always a big boat tournament or 2 or 3 that go on simultaneously with our tournaments. And I remember one specifically on the Coosa River. I was fishing this little channel between one of these big back bays and the main river. And this channel was loaded with wood. And there were 3 boats. I watched them come up and hit this outside channel swing, all of them throwing a spinnerbait, all of them just taking apart the laydowns, moving past. And, my bite was a little slow that morning, and they all kind of said, man, you'd be throwing spinnerbait. And I was like, well, I'm working the opposite. I'm working the opposite way, hitting what you guys just hit. I'm sure as heck not going to throw a spinnerbait after all 3 of these boats just did that.
Yeah, of course. So
I go to this laydown that I'd caught 2 good fish on the day before, and I was flipping. I flipped 4 times, and on that 4th cast, I caught a 6-pounder.
Wow.
And that, a lot of times we don't fish, and I'm guilty of this too. We don't fish that wood, docks. We don't make enough casts. And there's been some times I've made 11 flips and caught a fish on that 11th flip. It's just, it's so meticulous sometimes. But at the same time, what bass boats can do, and probably why they excel at this, is they're looking for those active fish a lot of times.
For sure.
And they can cover so much more water. If they're on that pattern, like they're fishing wood, man, they can hit so much more than I can.
Well, people like Kevin Van Dam made a living doing that, right?
Exactly.
Just run and gun, feed the fish that want to eat, and other than that, he's not messing with them unless he's just got to. But you basically, in that situation, you have no other option. So you're going to pick that cover apart. And I think that's really interesting and makes you really dangerous as an angler, because you're learning lessons, and all kayak anglers, you're learning lessons about it. I would equate it to a really good co-angler at times, like behind pros. When I fished the FLW Tour as a co, like, you've got to learn what works behind people, and completely polar opposite, presentations and things. So I think that you guys probably see a lot of situations that most people in boats don't ever see, I would say. I mean, and obviously you guys are ledge fishing, and you're doing the what I would call, quote, normal tournament things. Summertime, I've seen you grass fish, all that kind of stuff. It's not always way up a creek or way up a river necessarily, which people kind of equate to kayak fishing, I feel like. As a whole, but that's very. I wanted to ask you that because I thought that was it was there. You've made a couple posts, and I think I do remember that 6-pounder from that was Logan Martin. You said
the Coosa River.
Yeah,
Coosa. The recent one.
Okay.
The 6-pounder. I don't know. That was such a cool moment.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now I've got to ask you this: as a kayak tournament angler, you saying there may be 2 or 3 big boat tournaments at the same time. I have experienced this when I fished out of smaller aluminum boats at times. Do you always get the amount of respect you feel like you deserve from boaters? Are they courteous when they see you in a kayak? Do you have run-ins at times with anglers? Encroachment, I should say.
Oh, well, there's always a certain degree of that. I've had, surprisingly enough, I've had more positive experiences than not.
That's awesome.
And oftentimes I feel like it's the area. It's not necessarily, like some anglers and on a certain fishery are pretty, like St. Clair. It's like you catch a fish, you've got 30 boats in 10 yards of you, all fishing the same stretch of rock, right? But I've had a lot of respect from boaters. I've had a couple, maybe just a handful instances when a couple guys that they just act like I'm not there.
Yeah.
Like if people say something to me like, hey, how's your day going? I'm the friendliest, sure, share this flat they're feeding right now. No big deal. But if they pull up and just act like I don't even exist, that's pretty infuriating. And that's happened a few times. Or I had one guy say, hey, we're fishing a tournament, and I'm sitting on this ledge spot. I'm like, so am I.
You're like,
and
okay.
You're fishing PFL. I'm actually fishing for more money than you right now.
Wow.
So, yeah, and I, of course, don't say that because I try to be as respectful as possible. But honestly, for the most part, I've been pretty fortunate with most of my run-ins with boaters.
I'm sure you hear horror stories, though, because when I fished the FLW Tour, you had a lot of, we had run-ins with locals, a lot, unfortunately. And I can only imagine when you're in a kayak and you're sitting right where some guy thinks that they need to be on Saturday morning, how they take to that at times. So I've got to ask you this as well. The kayak thing, you're locked in. Obviously, you musky fish a ton, and that is I would say more of an addiction for you than anything. Keeping up with you, I feel like I can say that. I don't know you well, but I feel like that musky fishing is an addiction to you. But so is the kayak, the bass tournaments. What does the future look like for you? Are you content where you are? Do you want to win everything there is to win in kayak fishing, or do you have, aspirations of moving into saltwater or pro tournament angling out of the front of a boat? The Bassmaster Opens, NPFL, like what are you thinking? Are you just going where the Susquehanna River takes you? Which is a long ways is where it took you.
Boy, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of friends of mine, both on the professional tours and friends in the kayak world and friends in the industry about this very thing. And my nature is not to settle where I'm at. Like I always, when I accomplish something, I'm looking at the next thing to accomplish. I love the kayak community. I think we're going to experience even more growth in the upcoming years, and there's going to be just, an abundance of opportunities for kayak anglers. However, I want to change the world. And I don't know if that means me, I'm going to be the one to be the first female to qualify for the classic legitimately, or I'm going to inspire the next gal who's got the skills to do it. But I've had this kind of calling, and I don't know what that means, what that looks like. I've looked seriously into fishing the Bass Opens, and what that would mean and what I would need to do. For me, that's very daunting because I know what that would mean for every other aspect of my life. And you said I'm a very passionate angler. Bass fishing wasn't even in my top 5 of things to chase, growing up, or even in my 20s. I wouldn't go fish for largemouth if I had an option. I was fishing for everything else. But that being said, I've thought about doing the co-angler thing. I think I would hate being in the back of the boat, but I think it would give me a perspective and a little bit of insight into that world. I don't think I'd be able to do that very long, though. Maybe a couple of tournaments before I'd need to get my own boat and, dive head first into the Bass Opens. I think would be the route that I've really been thinking about. But like I said, that would require 150% of my time and commitment and effort, and I wouldn't focus on anything else until I succeeded at that. I know myself too well.
I can imagine that is absolutely 1,000% would be the case.
Yeah.
For you, for sure. People, if you're listening to this and you own a boat company, send her the damn boat. Put it on a trailer right now. Send it to her house. Pay her entry fees to the bathtub. She doesn't need to be a co-angler. No offense to co-anglers. I co-angled. You know it. You know the game. Put her in the front of the boat. Turn her loose. I would agree with you. You said you wanted to change the world. You are changing it. You are changing it. In my opinion, you are changing it every freaking day. You are you're killing it, man. You're killing it. And I'm very thankful to know you, and I'm thankful that you're in this sport, because you're a bright spot in an otherwise, we the craziness that's going on politically in the sport with the Bass Pro Tour, Bassmaster shakeups, those kind of things. Our sport's been very divided. I talk about it too much on this show, but you are definitely a bright spot in that, for sure. So, damn you sponsors. You boat companies out there, motor companies, she needs it in the garage right next to the Hobie. Okay, all right, you heard it here. Okay, I've got one more question, and this, Christine, is the most important question you're ever going to get asked on any podcast, any magazine interview. When you win the classic one day, nobody's going to ask you anything this cool or this important. But I need you to put on your Turnpike Troubadours thinking cap.
Ooh,
for this one. So,
okay.
So in getting to know you through following your adventures and all your successes on Instagram, I noticed, and we've messaged back and forth about this a couple times, you love good music. You love good music.
Absolutely.
And the other day you were headed out muskie fishing and you said, I've got the Turnpike Troubadours hat on for good luck. And notoriously, if we're just being honest, Turnpike Troubadour, for all you, we got a lot of Turnpike fans listening to LBL, I promise you. Not a lot of luck associated with the Troubadours, because bless their hearts. We've had a rough go, but I got to ask you, I'm a songwriter. I am a lyrics guy, so I'm not going to let you off easy by saying, what's your favorite Turnpike song? Okay? Because Evan Felker is I believe to be one of the greatest songwriters of my generation, our generation. He's an amazing storyteller, and we are very fortunate to live on a planet Earth where he existed with a pen and a guitar. So I ask you, what is your favorite Turnpike line?
Boy.
Yeah, forget songs. That's easy. I want the line, because I've got mine written down. I was thinking about it tonight because it popped up on a shuffle, and I'm like, that's it. Yep, I gotta ask. So you think about it. I might hum a song or something in the background while you're thinking, like Jeopardy. This is important. So this is a very judgy. Very judgmental question here, too.
Because that's a very, there's a lot of weight in that question.
Yes. And for those of you song lyric fans out there that are watching this right now and listening to this, this is a big deal. She could completely blow this. Has been a great time. She could blow this out. I may unfollow tonight on Instagram.
Oof.
Okay. No pressure.
Gosh, there is some pressure, because I'm thinking about, I've got like 9 favorite songs, but then there's those certain parts that you just sing a little bit louder.
Yeah, that's right.
But how am
or they hit a little different.
One that's gonna, they all hit a little bit.
They all hit a little different depending on the day.
Evan knows how to.
That's right.
Even post rehab, Evan knows how to do that.
Yes, of course.
Oof. Gosh, that's not even.
Could I ask you your favorite? I could ask you your favorite musky lure, and you would have spit it right out. I could ask you anything.
Your favorite lure,
your favorite lake, all that stuff. But this is going to seal the deal on a great interview, great conversation.
Oh boy. Okay, so I keep coming back to this one, and I almost hate to say it, because this is before I knew that people liked Turnpike. And I didn't even, I thought nobody knew him from Nebraska. And I was so excited about this song. It's 7 and 7. And I hate that it's so popular for them, because I am usually
I feel that. I feel that.
You know what I mean?
I feel that. I know that, but they're good for a reason.
There's one part in that song that because it symbolizes my life and being on the road and the things the sacrifices I've had to make, and the the life that I've had to give up. And, you know, I get a lot of time on the road by myself.
Absolutely.
And when he says, "You ain't nothing, just an interstate daydream," I sing that so loud.
Yes.
And I can't help it. I just wish that song wasn't so overly played anymore, because it's really great.
It's such a good one. Well, I've got just because I'm narcissistic, I have to tell you mine, because this one slays me. This one slays me every time. I've played this song for years. I listen to this song almost daily, I feel like. But in Good Lord Lori, which is the entire song, whenever she leaves him at the end, and he says, "And her words cut clear through drunk and dark and dimming doorway light," I think that is one of the greatest things that's ever been put on paper, because of the alliteration and everything that it paints in that just line. That one gets me every single time. I'm like, that is something. And he has, let's be honest, that was a very heavy question. There are 200 amazing lines if you dig deep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hard. So that was a loaded question. So I'll give you an easy one to end on. What is your overall? Is it 7 and 7? Is that your favorite Turnpike song? What is your number one Turnpike song of all time?
I'm kind of on Bird Hunters right now.
Oh, yes. Yes, that one's tough. It was tough.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on. There's not one of his songs that I just don't. It's all gold. I mean, you know this. I don't have to really say that, but I go through phases. I liked Full Downtown for a while.
Yes.
There's so many, but I think Bird Hunters right now. I like the Mercury too, but Bird Hunters right now, because this is time of year and the lyrics. I just kind of
that one. The imagery in that one is absolutely, like, if you can't see every single thing going on as you listen to that song, he paints a picture of that. It's like one of my best friends who I played music with for years, hunt and fish with. He said when he listened to that, he goes, "It's like this guy is 90 years old." That's the amazing thing about him. To be in his 30s, it's like he's 90 and has lived the most amazing life 3 times almost. You know what I mean? Like he the way he writes is incredible.
Right.
So I've got to say, "Empty as a Drum" is right up there for me too. That one is that one tells quite the story too. So, all right, that's it. Low budget live, low lifers right there. Christine Fisher, you survived. You survived Low Budget Live. I feel like you probably kept most of your sponsors. I don't think we should.
Thank the good Lord that they're supportive of me and what I stand for. So I think we're good.
And you know what? I think that is that's a big thing. That's a big thing for them to get behind the woman that's going to change the world. Because I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Thank you so much for taking time out of Thanksgiving weekend to do this. We've been planning it for a while, and we're going to do it again very, very soon.
Absolutely. It was an honor to be on the show. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with the NP, the National Professional Fishing League.
It's a long name, NPFL. Yeah,
it's so hard for me. NPFL. It's much easier to make an acronym.
We've been saying on our company calls that we have, we're just the league. We're just trying to get the league out there, because it's just it's a mouthful for sure. I'm probably, if you're gonna get to watch any of that, I'm gonna be tongue tied a lot, which I have a habit of anyway. So saying the National Professional Fishing League several times in a 6-hour broadcast would probably be difficult for yours truly. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We've got the schedule announcement coming out soon, and we'll see. We'll see. You follow in March. I'm looking forward to it.
I will be. Yep, I follow all that very, very, very closely, and maybe one day I'll be on one of those.
Hey, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I get to announce your first NPFL victory.
Man, wouldn't that be the day?
Yeah, and we'll play some Turnpike on the live coverage. Right. Damn right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys. Make sure you are following at Midwest Fisher Girl on everything. Christine Fisher, thank you. You're awesome.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. There we go. She is she's one of a kind. She's one of a kind. She's doing big things in this fishing world. And I've been trying to line that up for quite a while now. She's very busy, and it just felt like this was a good week. This was a good week to get Miss Christine on here, and I really, really appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm just, her story is remarkable, and we didn't get into a lot of it because I was babbling as usual, but she's, born and raised, she's muskie fishing is her passion, and she hasn't even been bass fishing really that long. She catches them. If you follow along, not a lot of fluff there, just bass, nonstop. She kills it. She absolutely kills it. So go give her a follow for sure. And appreciate you guys. As always, very thankful coming off Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for each and every one of you that listen to LBL, that listen to LD and the MC. We'll have a new episode for you on Wednesday. Of course, you can find it just like you can find LBL on iTunes, Spotify. Of course, LBL now on the Waypoint Podcast Collective. Very proud to be a part of that group. Just thanks. Thanks. That's all I can say. The fact that I get to do this every week is mind-blowing to me, honestly, because it's very therapeutic. I say that a lot, but it is. I love it. Love getting to know. It's given me the opportunity to get to know so many really cool people like Christine Fisher. So I want to say thank you to her again for coming on as well. That's it for me. I'm going to take you out with some Biloxi Blues. Y'all know what we do. Little Biloxi Blues on the way out, and I will see y'all in December. It's here.
Could make it last. Spanish moss and Civil War ghosts, well, I'm gonna leave them in the past. Any direction, Lord, I'll be fine. It don't matter east or west. North, south, wherever the wind blows, I'm leaving those burdens at rest. This highway, it does not know my name, and I don't care, no, I don't care. Heading my way for another place, and I got 3 good tires and a spare. Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there.